Along with probably most people were saying at the beginning, oh, by the 4th of July, somebody had a thing how the country was, the economy was going to be tanked by then. The stock market is at record highs.
It seems Bill's slowly coming around. I reckon he's a tariff away from sunbathing at Mar-a-Lago. Because we've seen time and time again, the media quickly brand Trump's moves an impending failure. Then they fall flat on their faces. But Trump's like a pool shark, always thinking 3 shots ahead.
Craving drama? Let's talk about the live TV takedown that left the mainstream media scrambling. Greg Gutfeld didn't just defend Bill Maher. Yes, that Bill Maher. He obliterated the media's anti-Trump narrative with ruthless accuracy. It was a public reckoning. No spin, no exit, just shattered talking points and panic behind polished smiles. Is the liberal media finally being forced to admit Trump's wins? And is Maher, the once unshakable progressive, slowly drifting toward MAGA country? Buckle up.
Weekend, Trump struck a massive trade deal with the EU worth hundreds of billions of dollars. This after Trump's agreement with Japan last week. So you see a pattern here? Trump is solving America's problems one after the other and making cash for us along the way. Trump threatens tariffs and countries give in faster than Hunter Biden at hooker camp. If you listen to Trump, you knew this would happen. But if you listen to the media, you would be convinced it wouldn't. I wonder, could this be the biggest economic policy-making error of their lifetime?
This may be the biggest economic policy-making error of my lifetime.
I don't think there's a single positive take on this. This is all just bad.
As Mr. Trump's global trade war escalates, so do the odds of a recession.
Donald Trump is single-handedly, unilaterally, and for no reason, plunging America into economic crisis.
Remember the meltdown over Trump's tariffs? The media practically called them an apocalypse in disguise. MSNBC and CNN trotted out economists better suited for managing mall food courts. They labeled Trump's strategy reckless until it generated $1 trillion in trade. Trillion. Suddenly, the doomsayers were swallowing their critiques like lobbyists downing whiskey in D.C. backrooms. Greg Gutfeld didn't let them off easy. He exposed how their Trump hate blinded them to results. They didn't report the truth, they wrote fan fiction. But reality, fueled by money and momentum, hit back.
Idiots miss the mark more often than Stevie Wonder playing lawn darts. Of course, Armageddon never materialized. Instead, as countries make concessions and our economy takes off, the media is now forced to admit that these evil tariffs are working.
He's been issuing many threats of tariffs, but they clearly have been working.
Absolutely a victory on behalf of the Trump administration.
On this deal, the European Union, this is a big win for the U.S.
It's a triumph of a lot of things. Certainly the president ought to take a victory lap.
The early reviews are in on the new trade deal announced with the European Union. The Financial Times says the deal marks a victory for Trump.
Oh, you know that was hard to say. I mean, Jesse has a harder time saying, I'll pick up the tab.
The moment MSNBC had to admit Trump's tariffs were working, it was like someone scratched a record live on air. Gone were the smug grins, replaced with stammered praise and awkward pivots. If they could have re-edited reality to boost Biden, they would have. But the numbers were undeniable. Greg Gutfeld held their feet to the fire, exposing media elites caught mid-lie with nowhere to run. The spectacle was almost comedic, journalists choking down truths they'd spent years mocking. And Gutfeld didn't just highlight the discomfort, he broadcast it with glee.
One of Trump's biggest critics is admitting the president was right all along.
I, along with probably most people, were saying at the beginning, oh, by the 4th of July, somebody had a thing how the country was, the economy was going to be tanked by then. The stock market is at record highs. I know not everybody lives by the stock market. I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to sink this economy by this time, and they didn't. So, how do we deal with that fact? Because that's the fact.
Bill Maher's eyebrows nearly fled his face when he saw the numbers, record-breaking economic growth in just 8 months. Even his trademark smirk paused for breath. Greg Gutfeld pounced. Trump wasn't just succeeding, he was rewriting the script, turning ridicule into receipts. For years, Maher and his ilk treated Trump like comic relief. Now, they're realizing he might be the one holding the whole circus tent up. Maher's not wearing a red hat yet, but that shade of pink is getting louder.
Bill's slowly coming around. I reckon he's a tariff away from sunbathing at Mar-a-Lago. Because we've seen time and time again the media quickly brand Trump's moves an impending failure. Then they fall flat on their faces. But Trump's like a pool shark, always thinking 3 shots ahead, positioning himself for a win every week, sinking one ball after another. We'd call him Minnesota Fats if J.B. Pritzker hadn't already called dibs on the name.
Maher insists he hasn't switched sides, but even Gutfeld can see the cracks forming. Resistance fades fast when facts start throwing punches. What used to be sharp critiques of the left now sound more like exhausted sighs from someone tired of pretending. Gutfeld sees it clearly. Maher's shift isn't sudden, it's a slow, steady drift. Bit by bit, he's echoing what Trump supporters have shouted for years: cut the nonsense, ditch the performative outrage. He's not riding the Trump train yet, but he's jogging next to it, glancing over like he's thinking about catching a ride. And if Gutfeld's right, that flip-the-switch moment is coming, and it'll be loud, proud, and wildly entertaining.
But Trump's hardline negotiations aren't just successful with tariffs. He's doing the same in Ukraine. Europe is committing billions to buy U.S. arms and send them to Ukraine, and NATO members have increased their defense spending to 5%. While they walked all over Biden like he was already 6 feet under, Trump is getting allies to pay their fair share. Now you're wondering, I thought Trump wanted to end the war. Me too. But if you know that that's not in the cards for now, the next best thing is to monetize the mess. Stop being the piggy bank and instead be the pig.
While Biden tiptoes through foreign policy like a confused guest at the wrong party, Trump walks in, sets the rules, and takes control. Suddenly, Europe's coughing up their share for Ukraine, and Russia's learning that America's not handing out warnings, it's laying down ultimatums. Gutfeld called it: Trump doesn't just make noise, he delivers results, and the world is paying attention. Under Biden, America wore a "kick me" sign. Under Trump, it's sunglasses only, because the MAGA glare is too bright to ignore. This isn't diplomacy. It's dominance. And in the Russo-Ukrainian chess match, Trump's playing to win, one bold move at a time.
All that experience in real estate, but Trump knows how to monetize a problem. He sees some chip paint in the den, and he lowers his offer. He notices a crack in the window, he demands a discount. He sees a creepy neighbor and calls the whole deal off. This instinct works almost everywhere, including college campuses. At home, Trump threatened federal funding after anti-Semitic protesters wreaked havoc on Ivy League campuses. And what happened? Columbia pays $200 million in fines. Harvard is in talks to pay over $500 million. Meanwhile, UCLA will have to pay more than $6 million for allowing protesters to build a Jew exclusion zone. Normally, that's just called the basketball.
College campuses started looking less like institutions of learning and more like anarchist street fairs. Anti-Israel protests flared up, and while Biden might have brought marshmallows to the chaos, Trump brought the crackdown. No snacks, no sympathy, no sanctuary. Gutfeld applauded the shift. Trump didn't coddle the chaos, he crushed it. His response didn't just cool the unrest, it brought back consequences. Universities across America got a wake-up call, and it didn't come with a latte or a therapy dog. Gutfeld made it plain: Trump built a MAGA firewall, and the woke tantrums crashed right into it.
Put it on their tab, and suddenly hating Jews wasn't so much fun. But that's Trump's gift, to create something valuable out of thin air. He didn't look at these woke colleges and think, wow, this mindset's been around for decades, it's probably hopeless. Nope, he magically comes up with a plan. He slaps a price tag on their behavior. No one's really done that before, at least to my knowledge, and I'm really smart. He realizes that if you can't make bad behavior disappear, then at least charge them for it until they start rethinking the cost of the behavior themselves. You know, we always hear about the carrot and stick approach, using a combo of rewards and punishments to motivate people to do the right thing. But for Trump, the carrot and the stick are the same thing.
Gutfeld nailed the genius behind Trump's move: stop paying people to be outraged. Under Biden, student protesters got safe spaces and snack packs. Under Trump, they got financial consequences. Trump cut off the money fueling the spectacle, forcing activists to choose real conviction or viral clout. The noise quieted. Accountability returned. Gutfeld hailed it as a masterstroke. No one's banning free speech, just making sure it actually costs something. The result? Fewer slogans. More thought. Campuses stopped being playgrounds for pampered radicals and started looking like places where beliefs had real weight. That's the MAGA effect. If you're serious, you'll pay. If not, stay home.
The difference this time around, I think, is that Trump is making them eat their words, but they are omitting it. And they can't do anything else. I mean, Trump has had, 6 months in office, second time around. You could make a very good argument. It's already one of the most transformative presidencies in modern times. He's been there 6 months. So this is a guy, who first time around, I think, was finding his way with the presidency. It was all pretty chaotic. There was a lot of heat on him, Russia collusion, all that nonsense. This time around, he's had 4 years in the wilderness to really plan this. And he's hit the ground. I've spoken to him a few times about this. He just came with a plan. And he was like, I'm not going to be knocked off course. I'm going to stick to my plan. I'm going to do exactly what I want to do.
6 months. That's all it took for Trump to flip the narrative. The economy surged. The border held. And the woke agenda collapsed under its own weight. Gutfeld broke it down with ruthless clarity. Trump didn't just perform, he demolished the illusions the media clung to. CNN and MSNBC predicted chaos and decline. What they got? Order, growth, and results. They braced for failure and had to report on success. Manufacturing rebounded. Immigration enforcement tightened. Every policy they mocked turned into a scoreboard. Victory. And now the press has to choke down the very wins they said would never come. Gutfeld didn't gloat, he scorched. Because nothing tastes better than watching your critics eat crow.